Holy shnikes, folks. In the words of Chris Farley, holy shnikes indeed. Two massive trades have gone down inside the National Football League, one featuring the Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Rams, in which the Cleveland Browns have traded away Myles Garrett in exchange for Jared Verse, and the Cleveland Browns have sent a first-round draft choice in the 2027 NFL Draft along with a second and a third in 2027, I believe. We'll get the tea leaves on the Garrett trade in just a moment. But that is what is being reported. The trade features the Cleveland Browns trading Myles Garrett to the Rams for Jared Verse and 3 picks. Pulling it up now. Browns will receive a first-round draft choice in 2027, a second-round pick in 2028, and a third-rounder in 2029. And one of the biggest trades in NFL history, without a shadow of a doubt, involving a defensive player. The shocking trade is completely on brand for the LA Rams, who have made a similar seismic move in the 2021 offseason when they traded for quarterback Matthew Stafford in a season in which the Super Bowl was being played in Los Angeles, by the way, before going on to win it. What's happening, folks? I'm Ryan Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in to, yes, this pre-recorded edition. So breaking news today, Monday, June 1st, is that the Cleveland Browns have went out. They've made a massive move to go out and get the game's best pass rusher in Myles Garrett, where the Cleveland Browns said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. Myles Garrett traded to the Rams. Browns acquire Jared Verse and picks. Not just any picks, but a first in 1 year's draft, 2027, as I mentioned, a second in 2028, and that's a lot. A third in 2029. Now, breaking this down here, breaking down what this means for the National Football League is simple. Myles Garrett is one of the better pass rushers in this league. He's been one of the better pass rushers in this league for quite some time. But I want to take a step back to a year ago in which the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett were at odds. They were in a bitter contract dispute, and it appeared as if Myles Garrett was not going to get his money. Eventually, Myles Garrett did get his money. And when he did get his money, a lot of people were laughing at Myles Garrett. A lot of people were saying, why did the Browns succumb to this decision? Why did they decide, you know what, we are going to make this move. We are going to pay this player, when they weren't really in a winning position, right? They weren't really in a point in their franchise where they were a Myles Garrett away from winning a Super Bowl. They weren't even a Myles Garrett away from making the playoffs. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? If you remember that. So Myles Garrett was never meant to be a lifer with the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett didn't want to be the next Joe Thomas, Pro Football Hall of Famer that spent his entire career with the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett wanted to be a dominant player in this league. He checked off those boxes. He became that type of player. He did those things in one place in Cleveland. But he said, you know what? I want to go out. I want to make it on my own merit on a team that can actually win and compete for a championship. And this is where things get really interesting. This is where things get really exciting when we're talking about the LA Rams. I have to catch myself every single time I talk about the Rams, because the Rams that I liked, the Rams that I loved, were the St. Louis Rams. The Rams that my dad loved, the Eric Dickerson Rams, were the LA Rams. So they've gone from the LA Rams to the St. Louis Rams to the LA Rams again. I like the Rams. The Rams are one of the teams in the NFC that I find myself rooting for a little bit more than some of the others. I love Puka Nacua. I love Matt Stafford. I love a lot of the guys that they've got, okay? They're a team that I like, you know, and I like Sean McVay. He's an offensive mastermind type coach, that I like those types of coaches. I like offensive coaches in general. So nothing against defensive coaches, but I like offensive coaches in general. That's just kind of my thing. That's my cup of tea. And when you look at what this means for the LA Rams, the LA Rams have done this so much. They've traded first-round picks year after year after year after year. Matt Stafford was just the beginning of it, going out and signing big-ticket free agents like Von Miller, making trades for Von Miller, I should say. They've done a lot, right? They've done a lot. They've tried to play a little bit ahead of the game with their draft this past season. They go into this year's draft with the NFL MVP at quarterback at Matt Stafford, and they decide, you know what, there's a guy out there that we really like. We want to be a little bit ahead of the curve. We want to take Ty Simpson. That's the guy that we want to take. We want to go out on a limb and say, this is the guy for our future. They're years ahead of that. Matt Stafford's got a year or two left, at least, I think. He could have more in him if he decides to. But the Rams just say, you know what, to hell with it. Let's play a little bit ahead of the curve rather than being behind the 8 ball. Let's be ahead of the curve. I like that, personally. So, Sean McVay, what is the difference to Sean McVay in Jared Verse, who's here, and Myles Garrett, who's about here? What makes up that little bit that I'm kind of differentiating on? Really, the thing that sticks out to me with this trade is the age of these players. Myles Garrett's a little bit older than Jared Verse. He's not a lot older. He's a little bit older than Jared Verse. But he's still older. So you're paying that first-round pick next year. You're paying that second-round pick the year after that, and the third the year after that. To Cleveland, this was great because Myles Garrett didn't want to play there. And Jared Verse is younger. He's a good player. Dare I say a great player. And the picks matter. But the picks only matter to the Cleveland Browns the same way they mattered back in 2014 and 2016 and all these different years along the way that they've played this Sonny Weaver Jr. draft day game of acquiring additional first-round draft picks. Those picks don't mean jack squat if, in fact, those picks are not hit on. Those picks have to be hit on in order for Cleveland to get to where they need to go. And frankly, when I look at the Cleveland Browns, when I talk about the Cleveland Browns, when I discuss the Cleveland Browns, it's really hard for me to not come off as slightly disrespectful because the Cleveland Browns have not been good in my entire life. They've never been good. They've made the playoffs a year here, a year there, seldomly. Joe Flacco, led the troops and brought them to the playoffs, which was great. It was cool, but Cleveland sucks. They're terrible. They've been terrible since they came back in the league in 1999. It's been a just colossal mess at the quarterback position really since day one, and I don't think that's Tim Couch's fault. I don't think that's Brady Quinn's fault. Those are some of the guys that I actually liked back in the day that they took. My dad and I really liked Tim Couch coming out of college. We'll talk about it all the time. Tim Couch was okay, but the Browns have been a horrible organization, and they continue to be. Now, when does that change? Eventually, it does change for most teams, but in 34 years of me being on this earth, I have never seen a well-versed, pun intended, Cleveland Browns team. I just have not seen that yet. And I'm very curious to what this means for the future of the Cleveland Browns. What are they going to do with those future picks? What is the apple of their eye in 2027, 2028, 2029? Because those picks will matter. So now, the thing with Myles Garrett that really blows my mind here is he probably is feeling like he's on cloud nine. But why did he sign that extension with the Browns if this is what was going to happen? Why did he stay for just one more year? Did this kind of happen in a preordained fashion? Did did Myles Garrett just say, you know what? I'll stay on for a year like you guys asked. I'll put up a lot of numbers like you guys asked, and I'll do my thing like you guys want me to. But beyond this year, I'm out. Did that happen? Maybe. Possible. Um, but we got another trade that came across the deck here. We got another trade. This one pertains to the Buffalo Bills. Wide receiver A.J. Brown, it is official. He was traded to the Patriots for a first-round pick in 2028 and a fifth in 2028 as well. So what's really interesting is if I had known this a day ago, which I did, but if I had known this a day ago, I may have taken Mekhi Lemon instead of Carnell Tate. But I like Tate better. I don't really like Jalen Hurts as a passer. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me type thing with that. But this, no doubt, is the best landing spot for a player that has really had some disgruntled years in Philly. This is no doubt the best landing spot for a player that is dying to be the guy on the offense that he plays within. And this is a massive upgrade for the New England Patriots, going from Stephon Diggs essentially as their number one wideout to A.J. Brown. And Diggs has been on the outside looking in his career for the last, 2-3 years. He's past his prime, to say the least. But A.J. Brown, I feel like he's at that point where he could put together some really, really good years in New England. So I like this trade for the Patriots. I don't like it for the Bills because you got some young guys in the secondary. Christian Benford, God willing, will be locking that A.J. Brown guy down. And hopefully, this doesn't make Drake May that much better, but Drake May will be better from this move. There's no doubt about it. Drake May will be better from this move in which the Patriots acquire A.J. Brown. Now, for the Eagles, again, they already replaced A.J. Brown with Mekhi Lemon. They've got Devonta Smith. They got Saquon still. For the Eagles, I think this was just to the point where they really wanted to try to get a return for a player that did not want to be there. These are two guys, and Myles Garrett and A.J. Brown, both of which did not want to continue to play for the teams that they played for. And that's essentially why they were both traded as the new league year kind of flips fully over here June 1st. June 1, usually that's when deals like this get done. So I thought today was great. I thought it was the Myles Garrett trade was a shocker. The A.J. Brown trade we expected. We didn't know what the compensation would be. First round pick in 2028, that's great for New England that they're still in the first round of 27 and that they can wait a little while to lose a first round pick. That's a great deal for New England. The first is great for the Eagles no matter where they're getting it, whatever year they're getting it. They wanted the guy gone, and he wanted to be gone from the Eagles. So all in all, both trades make a lot of sense for both teams. The guy that is the biggest loser in this entire trade deadline POOLOOZA day, even though it's not, is Jared Verse. Jared Verse going from the LA Rams to the Cleveland Browns. Again, I hate to kick Cleveland down, but Cleveland is terrible. I couldn't imagine living there, being a diehard fan as one of those diehard fans in Cleveland because they've got a lot of great fans. I love Cleveland, actually. I love the city. I love going to baseball games out there. Love going to Canton. They invented football practically. The fact that the Cleveland Browns have been such a dumpster fire the last 30 plus years, it's a real shame. It really is, because it wasn't that way back in the day, and they were the premier franchise in the National Football League for the early years. So I think this will make Cleveland better. How much better, I don't know until we see what those picks are. And with the guy calling the shots, Andrew Berry, he's been calling the shots in Cleveland for so long, and yet they aren't good. So how long does this guy get the chance to keep his job before it's time that the Browns, wash, rinse, repeat, and move on? But nonetheless, that was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast tonight. A short show recapping both trades. Thanks for tuning in.